So what we're going to do in this mock draft, Dawn, I'm going to take the odds picks, you're going to take the evens picks, and of course our producer Eli will be handling the Cincinnati Bengals, his favorite team, at number 4 overall, Eli. Yikes. So he's going to be picking number 4 overall for the Bengals. I'm going to start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are currently the only winless team in the NFL. And my number 1 overall pick to me is going to be Travis Hunter. I think, obviously, you have your quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and Travis Hunter, to me, has been the best player in college football this year. I think he deserves to win the Heisman Trophy as of right now because of how rare he is on both sides of the ball. And I don't think he'll be a full-time starter on both sides of the ball in the NFL, but you'd be foolish not to play him at least on both sides. So I think Jacksonville should do, who also Jacksonville could use help at cornerback this year. So I think what they should do is start him full-time at corner and then also have him play a good amount at receiver. Not a full-time starter, but a good amount. And I think, honestly, he could be the number 2 receiver behind Brian Thomas Jr., who's been really good this year for Jacksonville. So I think he fits a big need at corner for Jacksonville, and also he could play as a receiver for them. So I think Travis Hunter Jr., to me, was pretty clearly the number 1 overall pick here.
Yeah, he's the best football player in the country right now. When you talk about his abilities to be elite on both sides of the ball, he's 9th in the nation among cornerbacks in coverage grade right now. Actually, 9th in receiving grade among receivers and 5th among corners in coverage grade. I mean, that's ridiculous. If you're one or the other of those things, you're going to be a first-round pick. But to get a guy who is both of those in one body, look, I would give him the full two-way shot. He's shown he can do it so far as long as he stays healthy. If he stays healthy the rest of this year, Colorado's going a long way with that. But, I mean, Hunter, you have to take it. He's just the best, most talented football player in the country right now.
So, Dalton, we were debating for you what the number 2 overall pick should be. Are you going to stick with your original pick, or will you go with more of the consensus pick here?
This was so hard. This was actually a lot harder. I know you guys were telling me it's obvious, but my mind first went to Mason Graham because the Dolphins have struggled just as much on defense this year as they have on offense. And I think, look, they need foundational pieces in the trenches on both sides of the ball. But after some arguing about it, I'll switch to the offensive side.
You can go with him if you want.
I just, the one part that does concern me, I don't think we see Teron Armstead in Miami after this year. And he continues to get hurt. He's getting older, and we've seen their offensive line without Teron Armstead, without that primetime left tackle. So I'm going to go in that direction. And I think your 2 choices here are those first 2 guys you see on the board, Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks. Yes, pass protection's at a premium. Yes, Tua Tagovailoa with the concussions and the injuries, it's a problem. But I think you do have 2 really good pass protectors here. We know what Will Campbell can do, but I'm going to go with Kelvin Banks Jr.
Okay.
I think the ability the run block ability and the zone run blocking ability that he has shown in this Texas offense, I think Mike McDaniel sees Kelvin Banks in a similar vein, honestly, to Trent Williams with the zone blocking. The pass protection is obviously very good. He's very familiar with this type of scheme down there at Texas with Steve Sarkisian. I think these 2 guys are a very equal talent, and I think his scheme fit has them leaning towards Kelvin Banks. I'm going to go there, and the Dolphins take a new franchise left tackle. You guys sold me on the offensive line angle of this because I was very close to taking Mason Graham with this pick.
I understand, and honestly, I think Kelvin Banks has outplayed Will Campbell this year. We actually saw Kelvin Banks in person at the in Ann Arbor in that Michigan game against a really good Michigan defensive line, and he was one of the best players on the field. So Campbell has had some struggles. He didn't play great in that South Carolina game. We'll see how he does the rest of the year. There's still plenty of time for him to overtake Banks as OT1, but I think as of right now, I would have Banks as OT1. Was there any debate for you taking a quarterback there at number 2 overall with all of Tua's injury history?
I can't do it unless we know there's some decision made that Tua's done or not going to play. I can't do it with the gray area like that because they just paid him, right? And then he's got the big contract, and if he continues to play, then that's suddenly a wasted, in this scenario, 2nd overall pick. I just couldn't do it unless we got some sort of confirmation on which way that's going.
Sure. So I think what I'm going to do here, Trevor Sickham actually in his mock draft, check it out at pff.com, he just came out with it. He actually had Jalen Milroe going to the Dolphins at number 2 overall. So he actually did take a quarterback there. But I'm going to take, for the Patriots here at number 3, I think it's pretty obvious what they need. Really, Trevor and Connor have been saying this on NFL Stock Exchange, but check them out as well. They've been saying the reason why Drake May is not playing is because they don't have an offensive line that can protect him, and they don't want to throw him out there to the wolves, basically, with that offensive line. I mean, right now, New England this year has the 3rd worst pass blocking grade and the 4th worst run blocking grade in the entire NFL. And with Kelvin Banks Jr. off the board here, I think Will Campbell is right there for the taking. I think they have to take Will Campbell. I think it's a must pick for New England this year. They have to take an offensive tackle with their first round pick, in my opinion. So I think Will Campbell is a pretty obvious one here. And like I said, I still think he's very, very close to Kelvin Banks Jr. I think either neither one of them is a pretty clear OT1, OT2 in this draft. I think there's a pretty clear gap between those two and everyone else at offensive tackle in this draft. So I think New England has to take an offensive tackle just to help out Drake May, who presumably will be the starting quarterback next season, and maybe will be at some point this year as well. They definitely need to take an offensive tackle. I think Will Campbell is a home run pick for them here.
Yeah, you know what's funny is this feels like the most obvious match between player and team in this entire process, right? And we know the Patriots are going to be picking in the top 5 in all likelihood. Last year there was some obvious picks, right? The Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison, the Giants taking Malik Neighbors was kind of obvious. You know, I thought another one like Seattle with Byron Murphy. I thought sometimes you just get a certain player and a certain team that makes so much sense. And Will Campbell of the Patriots, I think we're going to see this mocked all the way through April, and it very well could happen.
Definitely. So Eli, you are up here with a number 4 overall pick. First of all, are you shocked that you're number 4 overall a month into the season right now?
I would definitely say shocked is the right word. I mean, we all knew the defense was going to take a step back. They lost a lot of key pieces over the last 2 years, but the extent to which they have taken a step back is probably nobody expected this. I mean, you had Dalton on the NFL show with I think a 12-win season for the Bengals, and I think Trevor was at 14. So kind of a shocker all across the landscape in the NFL, just seeing the Bengals in the top 5 right now.
So who are you going to go with here? I think it's a pretty obvious player that is staring you in the face here at number 4 overall. And now that Dalton didn't take him, are you going to take him here at number 4?
Yeah, definitely an easy pick. This is a run it up. You take Mason Graham here. The defensive line has been a huge problem. And I think Mason Graham fills that hole perfectly. I mean, currently right now, the Bengals are 32nd in the NFL with a 53.7 pass rush grade. Now, I know his grade here isn't great so far to 2024, but he has that juice. You saw it in 2023. If the Bengals are this bad, this is the player you have to be this bad for. He's a kind of guy who can change your defensive line and the future of it. So Mason Graham, easy pick.
Love it. Yeah, Mason Graham, I think that's probably the easiest pick of the entire draft, honestly. I think
it's why you guys talked me out of him at 2, because just so Eli can
get it, Mason Graham. He already pre-ordered the Mason Graham jersey in Fanatics.
You guys make it way too obvious when you're working against me. I know how this goes.
While I did want him there, I think it just makes too much sense for the Dolphins to go offense at 2. I mean, either way,
yeah.
I think you're right. There's so many issues on the Dolphins, especially defensively, but just considering the Tua caveat, whether or not they move off him, if you're probably going offense no matter what, because either you're taking a quarterback, depending on what happens with him, or you need to protect him. It's been such an issue his entire career, especially given the injuries. Yep. And you have 2 basically generational tackle prospects. I think it'd be silly for the Dolphins not to go offensive line.
I'm completely with that as well. Yeah, so Mason Graham, number 4 overall pick to Cincinnati, another AFC North team here in the top 5. That is the Cleveland Browns. I'm kind of lost what to do right now because
it's a trade down spot is what
there's
it is.
A trade down spot. They need a quarterback, but they are handcuffed to Deshaun Watson for probably at least the next 2 seasons. So quarterback's an option here. Do they go Tetairoa McMillan? I know Amari Cooper, there's talks about him maybe not being there long-term either. And they have Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore. And right now, even with Amari Cooper this year, Browns have the 4th worst receiving grade in the league. I don't know. I want to pull the room here. Would you guys take a quarterback or receiver here, or what would you do?
I think either of those is a good option. Actually, to be honest, if one of those 2 tackles were on the board, I think
that's what I probably would have done.
Great option.
Yeah.
This is tough, and even a Mason Graham. Honestly, the Browns, the D line is good, but I think it's better on the edges than it is in the interior. It's decent in the interior. There's a lot of ways you could go here, but I think offensively, you have to find some sort of solution. So the question is if you just ride it out with Watson for at least 1 more year with I think it's 2 more guaranteed years on the contract, or if you just start speeding up that clock and you kind of do what Denver did with Russell Wilson and just eat it and find whichever way that goes. But they've got a lot of issues right now, especially offensively. So this scenario where you don't get either of the tackles is tough.
Yeah. I don't know. Let me put a bug in your ear, Max. Right now, the Browns are the 28th ranked receiving grade in the NFL, with a 59.8 receiving grade.
It's not
pretty much Amari Cooper.
That wouldn't be
and
a
a lot of
nothing.
Either.
Yeah.
And also, am I wrong here? Amari Cooper there's a lot of rumors with him not being there long term.
Yeah, I know there's some stuff of him being upset.
I wouldn't be shocked if he got traded in the next month.
See, that's the thing is I would like a quarterback here because I do think this is a developmental quarterback class. There's not a lot of guys I would trust to start out there week 1. So I think Cleveland's in a spot where they pretty much have to start Deshaun Watson with how much money he's making, and then you could bench a quarterback for a year or 2. But I'm going to go with Tetairoa McMillan here. I think they need to bolster that receiving core, even if Amari Cooper stays. Honestly, they need to help out the receiving core. So I'll take Tetairoa McMillan, and I think this is kind of a last for Cleveland. This is kind of a last gasp effort saying, Deshaun, this is it now. We're giving you a true X receiver. We've given you enough before. This is it. If you can't do it now, you will never do it. I'm already really pessimistic on him ever doing it. I know he had a good game this past week, but Deshaun Watson, by all accounts, has been an abject disaster for them in that trade and how much they paid him. So I would have liked a quarterback here. I just don't love one in the top 5. And I think Tetairoa McMillan, they need help in that receiving core. I'll go with McMillan here at number 5 overall.
All right. Okay. Still no quarterbacks.
Nope.
All right, I'm changing it. Tennessee Titans need a quarterback. I think these are the facts. We've seen Will Levis with the turnovers the first 4 weeks. Mason Rudolph came in and won the game for them Monday and not putting up a whole lot of stats. They need a quarterback. Brian Callahan needs a franchise quarterback for this team. And the question is, which one? I mean, look, Trevor has Jalen Milroe, the highest on his board right now. At times we've seen Carson Beck. We've seen some other guys. And they're all different types of quarterbacks in this class too. But I think the one that is the most ready right now, and the guy that I think right this minute is the best quarterback. I need to see more out of Milroe. It was a great game he had against the Blitz against Georgia. A huge step, that specific thing against the Blitz. But I think the guy most ready right now is Shedeur Sanders. And I'm going to send him to Nashville in this version of this. He's in a clean pocket. We know he's spectacular. I think Callahan could see Sanders as a similar type of passer to Joe Burrow when he was with the Bengals. I think it's a similar type of thing. Quick rhythm, so accurate, can make plays on the move, doesn't necessarily have to. He's going to improvise to throw. I think he's the smartest quarterback in the country, and that's the part that gets me. I think he processes and he sees the field and he sees defenses better than anybody else in this class. He shows it week in and week out for Colorado, where there's obviously a boatload of pressure, not surrounded by a whole lot of run game, and he just gets it done. He just constantly is making the right throw, gets it done. The sacks are down this year. I know the pass protection's still shaky there, but he's not getting blamed for as many sacks as he did last year. He's such a good rhythm passer. He's so accurate. I think this is the guy that Brian Callahan would want here, just for how fundamentally well he plays the position.
I would agree with that. And honestly, I was just going to say, they already took a swing on Will Levis a couple years ago. This is less of a swing. This is not a toolsy guy. This is not like the guy that you're like a high ceiling but a low floor. I think this is a high floor quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. And I was literally just going to say, I'm sure Brian Callahan's going to say, hey, this could be my Joe Burrow. This could be my Joe Burrow in Tennessee. So that makes a lot of sense. I really like that pick too. The Tennessee at number 6. Carolina here at number 7, also needing a quarterback because the Bryce Young time there has not gone well at all. So I'm going to be looking at quarterback here. I'm between a few right now. Jalen Milroe obviously has the highest ceiling out of all of them, but I still think there's kind of a low floor there. I don't know if you're Carolina, if you want to be going for that. So I'm probably not taking Milroe here. I'm really between Cam Ward and Carson Beck. I think Ward has played a lot better this year than Carson Beck. Beck obviously had that horrible first half against Alabama, but he rebounded really nicely in the second half. I think I'm going to go with Cam Ward because I think there's a higher ceiling there, and I think he's just really been impressive this year overall. So I'm going to go with Cam Ward, and I think he's kind of gotten rid of the bad habits that we saw plague him at Washington State and even Incarnate Word. So I'm going to go with Cam Ward here to the Panthers at number 7, but I was really much debating him and Carson Beck here.
I get it. I totally get it. I think actually either one would be a fine fit in Dave Canales' offense. I think either one could run them. I think Carson Beck, look, it's been a struggle. I think Georgia's finding their weapons. I think what he showed me in the second, everybody's focused on his stock falling after the first half against Alabama. I think Beck's stock, I think, stays pretty steady for the way he played in the second half, but Cam Ward's stock is skyrocketing. I mean, he's been so good. Still kind of the roller coaster against Virginia Tech, like we talked about.
But still had a solid game, though. It didn't let it compound. He ended up, came back and,
What he is, too, is he's one of the few quarterbacks in the country who could just will your team to a win. I think Shedeur's in that boat. I think Milroe's in that boat. I think Carson Beck might still be in that boat. There's a handful of guys who can will your team to a win, and the Panthers need a guy like that. They need somebody like Cam Ward to come in and give him a jolt, because we've seen with Andy Dalton, when they get competent quarterback play, they're not that bad.
No.
They have weapons. Deontay Johnson, I know they have to sign him after the year, but Xavier Legette's coming on now. They've got guys they can work with, and wait till we get Jonathan Brooks healthy, and their offensive line is playing well. So there's a lot of pieces there in Carolina. They're not as bad as people think they are, but they do need a quarterback. All right. The Rams at 8.
There's a clear pick, I think.
Yeah, if it's the same one you're thinking, I think I'm with you. With the 2 tackles off the board, right?
Yep.
Look, the Rams last year were dead last in coverage grade. Right now they're 29th. I've got an elite football player at the very top of this board. I have to take Will Johnson. If Will Johnson ever fell to the Rams, they'd be jumping out of their shoes. Look, this secondary is a problem. The front seven looks good, honestly. Kobe Turner, Jared Verse is off to a great start. Braden Fisk is coming on. Replacing Aaron Donald was the hard part, and it appears as a unit they've kind of done it, but their secondary needs so much work. But to get a foundational player like Will Johnson in there, been the best corner cover in the country for 2.5, going on 3 years already. Everything. You compare him all the time to Patrick Surtain. The Rams need a Patrick Surtain type of presence in this secondary, and that'll go a long way in helping their back seven on defense. This is an obvious pick if this were to fall this way. I'm in on it with the Rams fixing their coverage.
Yeah, I'm with it too. I think that he is definitely the player I would go with here at number 8 overall. I think it's pretty obvious. And they haven't had a lockdown number 1 corner since like prime Jalen Ramsey, honestly, when LA had him a few years ago. So they desperately need help in that secondary. I think Will Johnson should be a top 5 pick, and he somehow fell all the way here to 8. I think, like I said, they should be jumping for joy with this pick. So that makes a lot of sense there to the Rams at 8. I have the Cardinals here at 9. Dawn, listen, Trevor Sikkema, I'll say it right now, and I'm not being biased. He is the best draft analyst in the business. However, I disagree with his order of the defensive tackles in this draft. I will be taking Deone Walker over Kenneth Grant. Right now on the PFF big board, Kenneth Grant is the number 7 overall player. Deone Walker is number 31. I personally think that Deone Walker is too much of an alien. And also, Deone Walker has not been that bad this year. So I was actually at that Georgia game. He did not look good at all in that game. But other than that, he's been solid. I think Kenneth Grant also has been solid this year. They haven't been spectacular or anything like that. So I'm going to stick to my guns in what I thought preseason and thinking Deone Walker and Mason Graham are the clear 2 best D tackles in the country. Deone Walker, 6'6", 340 pounds, 345 pounds. He interview with him. We actually interviewed Deone Walker. Check it out in our Deone Walker, I believe, preview episode we did preseason. He told me he can run a 4.640. At about 350 pounds.
Yeah, wait for the hype when we get there.
Which, if that happens...
Wait till we get to the combine and that happens.
If
and
that
then
happens,
all about it.
He's going top 10.
Yeah.
He is going top 10. He's not going number 31 overall like he is in the PFF big board. So, again, love Trevor. He's the best in the business. I usually agree with him on everything. But here I disagree with him a little bit. I'm going to take Deone Walker over Kenneth Grant here to the Arizona Cardinals, who desperately just need dudes on that defensive line. And I think Deone Walker could be a space eater and also a really, really good penetrator for them on that defensive line. So I'm thinking Deone Walker over Kenneth Grant for the Arizona Cardinals.
I'm with you. There are when he's on, there are flashes of Chris Jones.
Yeah,
that's the way he's built with the length and the size and everything and the moves and everything like that. When he is on. He could actually, to be honest, the ceiling is best defensive player in this draft.
Yep.
We just have to see it.
And I love Kenneth Grant too, but I just think there's
great
a ceiling.
Player.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to get to Grant here at some point in a little bit here. Maybe even in a few picks, but no, Walker's ceiling is undeniable, absolutely. And we're going to hear the second he goes and runs a 4.6 or 4.7 at the combine.
Oh yeah,
it's going to blow up to this level of hype.
I mean,
I get that,
and we'll be debating them with Mason Graham too.
And the Cardinals need to take a swing like this.
Yeah.
They do. They need talent on their defense. They need to take a swing. All right, we got a big one here with the Giants.
Yep.
They're playing better. Malik Neighbors has given them a jolt. Their defensive line's really good. But the obvious is the obvious, right? And I know Daniel Jones was good last week against Dallas. The big question here, is Brian Daboll staying?
Yep.
Is Daniel Jones staying? I think the second one is less likely. We'll see about Daboll. But either way, for as many other things as I could go with, if it's a right tackle somewhere here, maybe even in the secondary need some help. I think Malachi Starks wouldn't be a bad fit here after losing Xavier McKinney, although they do have Tyler Nubin. But I'm going to make the talent play at quarterback.
Have to.
Because you know what sticks out to me is back-to-back in a 2-day span, watching Jalen Milroe make freak throws, and he does it every week on Saturday, and watching Daniel Jones, even though he played well, just going 1 for 6 on deep balls against the Cowboys, and I just need more. I need Jalen Milroe's arm and Malik Neighbors' speed together. I'm going Jalen Milroe. I don't know who the coach will be. I don't know if this is how it'll shake out or if Milroe's the guy they'll prefer. But to go from Daniel Jones, who is a decent athlete, but the arm strength, maybe it's always been like that, but it's just not. We're missing a level of explosiveness now. We have it at receiver with Neighbors, but we don't have it with the quarterback, right? And now you have it with Milroe, plus the mobility. And if what he did against Georgia is real, and he got rid of the ball on time better than he ever has, and he beat the blitz better than he ever has, now you're talking about a freak prospect. Because that was the thing we kept talking about. How do you beat Jalen Milroe? Just blitz the hell out of him, right? Georgia did that. I think it was like 65% of the time that Kirby Smart sent blitzes, and Milroe beat it. And I think against a blitz, he was it 17 for 20, we said?
Yeah, 17 for 20.
It was 17 of 20 against the blitz.
91 grade,
That's brand new. That's like the Stroud thing with the Georgia game improvising, where it was like, oh, that's brand new. If he does that, we're in some territory here. I'm going to take the talent swing for the Giants here at quarterback. Give me Jalen Milroe.
Not only do I love this pick, Dalton, because they need to do this, but if Brian Dable is the head coach there, which I think he deserves more than just this year, because he didn't draft Daniel Jones. He was stuck with him. Who was Josh Allen's offensive coordinator when Josh Allen made the leap into superstardom?
It's Brian Dable.
It was Brian Dable.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for tools.
And I have compared Malik Neighbors to Stephon Diggs a lot.
Yeah. And if you're looking for tools, Jalen Milroe has a tool. So that's why I love this pick. I think it's better than a Carson Beck pick for them, because Beck is just who he is, honestly. Milroe, there's something more there, which is why he's the number one quarterback on PFS Big Board by Trevor Sikkema right now. There's something more there. And if there's any coach that is proven that he can unlock those tools from a pretty raw quarterback, he did it with Josh Allen. I think he could do it with Jalen Milroe as well. So I love that pick for the Giants at number 10 overall.